Hey everyone, it's Adam here. I can't see the guy. Right, we've come to the end of it, and to tell you the truth, I'm kind of glad it has. You don't know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the Candyman franchise, where the first movie was a fucking masterpiece that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Second one was a disappointment because it didn't live up to the hype, it didn't live up to the scares, and although overall it was a mediocre movie, it felt like the first movie retold again, but with a different script and different actors and with less scares being there. Obviously, the gore was there and all that shit. We got no complaints in that department, but I don't know. It was. It wasn't a straightforward rant. It was just like a rant review. Some things I liked, some things I didn't, and this one's no different. But don't get me wrong, I came this fucking close of making this an epic rant. It's the third installment in the Candyman franchise, Candyman 3, The Day of the Dead. I've got it on DVD. It was released straight to DVD. I suppose one nice fact that Tony Todd re-inspired his role for playing Candyman the third time. We've now got another leading actress called Donna Rico, who, believe it or not, is not even a real actress. She's a Playboy playmate that was in an episode of Baywatch. Okay, so you're going to make a leading girl who's not even an actress in a franchise like Candyman the main star. Really? Is that a wise move? Not putting her down completely, Donna. She's got a nice figure. I can understand why she's a Playboy playmate. She's got nice tits, a nice ass, despite not even showing them in this movie. So that's one downfall. You do see some tits and ass, but it's from a different actress. But you got to see some nice bits and pieces like that added in these type of movies. But this Candyman 3 is just like the second movie. The scares weren't there. The direction of it being enjoyable weren't there. Same old shit basically, but just retold again. Same shit over and over again, but just retold again. Let me make an example. Let me tell you a little example. Like I said, Tony Todd re-inspires his role for the third time, so it was good to see him back. We later learn that Annie Tarrant from the second movie has been killed off screen. Her daughter, who she was telling the bedtime story to at the end of the second movie, Caroline, is now in this, and she's now all grown up. And Donna D'Errico plays her. The film opens up in this white bathroom. You can hear some dripping of blood. Candyman's in there, and as he's just about to slash her, she wakes up, and it's all a nightmare. And she's an artist too, by coincidence, and she's sketching pictures of the Candyman while in her black underwear. Which is hot, by the way, don't get me wrong. I would actually bang Donna D'Errico. I would. But that's beyond the point. The point is, I don't think none of these actors gave a shit about this movie. I can't find not one interview online where Tony Todd talks about this movie, Candyman 3, Day of the Dead. I can't find not one. He's always openly talking about the first movie, which was his favourite, because when I met him in real life, I asked him what was his favourite Candyman film, and he said the first one. He talks about the second movie in the special features of the second one, and here and there on certain parts of the internet, but you will not see not one interview whatsoever with Tony Todd talking about this movie, Candyman 3. And that's basically explains it all. And I don't blame him one little bit. I mean, Candyman, it's really sad how it's turned out because it could have been a successful franchise. I mean, he's a horror icon, Candyman, don't get me wrong. He'll forever be remembered as the scary guy in the mirror. If you say his name 5 times, he comes out and he kills you. And he'll also be remembered that for forever, basically. But you got your typical horror icons like Freddy, Jason, Chucky, and then you list Michael Myers, and then Candyman starts to come up, which is nice. But like I said, there's only 3 films in the franchise, and quite frankly, people only remember the first movie. The second movie was mediocre but disappointing, but this movie, Candyman 3, was fucking forgettable. Really, it was that fucking bad. But did I despise the movie? No, it takes a lot for me to really hate a movie. And trust me, there are some movies which I really do hate. But I suppose I was just not. It was just nice to see Candyman again, despite him only playing a really small role in this movie. I mean, you see him for like about half an hour throughout the movie, and then in other little bits and pieces towards the end sequence and stuff like that. So another disappointing thing: the kills were not creative. Like the scene where that guy who was showing off the paintings was having sex with that woman, and one nice factor was you could see her ass and tits. But Candyman's behind him, kills him with the hook in ordinary fashion, and then the woman who's on the bed, who's rubbing honey all over her naked body, gets killed by the bees. So, is that creative? I don't think so. There's only one creative scene in this movie with the killing, and that was a scene where she was in the back of the police car, the cops making fun of her, trying to make her the Candyman's fake, he's not real, and Candyman kills him by shoving the hook through his mouth, and he comes back out of the car seat, and his guts splurt up all over the windscreen. I like that kill. In fact, that was the only decent kill in the whole movie. The rest was just so amateur and so fucking straightforward. I mean, if we go to the story, Caroline's now grown up. She says she's never said Candyman's name 5 times in the mirror, but she's related to the Candyman. And she wants to remember the Candyman for being a good person. How he used to be, Daniel Robitaille, an artist. The one who fell in love with the white woman of the wealthy landowner and got tortured by the wealthy landowner's thugs. Okay, that's how she wants Candyman to be remembered, as Daniel Robitaille, the good man. Anyway, there's this museum where there's loads of artwork of him. They're showing off all the Candyman's paintings. And she even says to the whole crowd, because Day of the Dead is approaching, and the guy who owns the museum says he wants to say Candyman 5 times in the mirror because Day of the Dead is approaching. And she's like, no, I will not say Candyman 5 times in the mirror, even though I don't believe in him. I just believe in the good side of him. But she gets pushed to it, and she says his name 5 times in the mirror. And that's when all the killing sprees starting to happen. I mean, there's a scene in the subway, the train station, where Candyman's like floating in the air, and she ends up getting knocked out. And when she wakes up, she wasn't in a bloody mess like Virginia Madsen was in part 1. She was just waking up from a dream. She's getting all these images and these flashes of people dying. They find out that guy who I just told you about, who was going to have sex with that woman, their bodies were found mutilated in the apartment. One thing leads to another, but throughout the movie, you just get all these crimes happening, all these deaths, and she's getting blamed for all the murders because I thought she has some sort of connection with them all. I mean, one thing that got to me about this was they explained the death of Candyman again for the 3rd time. Only this time, we saw it clear in number 2. He was chased into that field in broad daylight, tortured, having his hands sawn off, being stung by bees, and eventually dying. So why did they show a scene in this movie where he's on a cross at night time being tortured for about 5 seconds? They showed his death differently in part 2, so why have they shown it differently in part 3? He's like on a cross or on a hanger like a scarecrow would be on, and he's like dying at night time when it was purely in daytime. I wish some Candyman fanatic would explain that to me. I can't understand why they put that scene in when it's got no sense to the other fucking movies. I mean, even the scene where he kills her roommate, she like puts her arm around her, gets the hook, slashes her, pulls on the hook, all the blood squirting out of her, and it looks like water. It's like spraying out of her side like water, like a hose pipe. Couldn't help but laugh at that scene. And the reason why I laughed is because it was so laughably bad. The way it was done, the way it was thought of. I mean, they tried to create a story at the same time by making all the Candyman's paintings get stolen, and you introduce these 2 cops who you don't give a fuck about, who appear to be racist and all that shit. And she gets lured into the trap, And there's like this weird cult who believe in Day of the Dead, who stole the paintings, and they say Candyman's name 5 times in the mirror. He kills them off. Caroline gets set free, but there was another part that we really didn't give a shit about. She wants to know how to destroy the Candyman for good. At the first movie, he got killed by fire. Second movie, he got killed by smashing the mirror. But then she learns from this woman, a healer, saying, without good, the bad will not exist. And the good part of Candyman was Daniel Robitaille in the paintings. So let me get this straight. All you gotta do is destroy a painting and you've killed Candyman. You know, what kind? I suppose it's not much of a cheesy idea. I mean, look at the way they killed off Freddy Krueger in some of the movies. Burying his bones, using holy water, and all that shit. With Candyman, it's the same thing. So now all you gotta do is just destroy a painting and you've killed this horror icon for good. Really? So that's what happens. She ends up using one of Candyman's hooks or a blade or whatever, I can't fucking remember, but she slashes at the painting. Candyman's aching in pain, going, "Do not forsake me! Do not forsake me!" You know, and it's like CGI blue waves or something like that, and Candyman just vanishes forever. And that's your big wow, you know, your big well done for killing off a horror icon. You destroyed a painting of him. One of the cops dies when he gets shot for fucking saying Candyman just before he dies, pretending to imitate the Candyman. And it gives it a happy ending because she's now having a picnic at her mother's grave, and it's her aunt, and the credits roll. So they had no comparison or no ideas whatsoever to make another fourth movie. They may have thought about it at the time, but I don't blame them one bit for not making a fourth Candyman movie due to the bad reception of this movie. I do not blame them not one little bit. Why the fuck would you make a fourth movie if the third one didn't do so well? No one gave a shit about this movie. It was forgettable. It was cheesy. It was fucking completely forgettable. You got a leading actress who's a playboy playmate. You know, nice to see her body and everything, but you've got to have a leading actress. You've got to have a serious actress like Virginia Madsen in Part 1. You know, not a playboy playmate who really doesn't give a shit about acting, basically. She was just used on the screen for her looks more than anything. She didn't have amazing talent as an actress. I've seen more worse actresses in horror movies, trust me, I have. But they could have done a better job in that department where they had the right actors or right actresses for this movie. Tony Todd seemed like he didn't give a shit about his role in this movie. In the first movie, he was scary, he was serious, really put his heart and soul into the Candyman character. Whereas the second one, he was like, and in this movie, he just did not give a shit at all. You could see in his eyes that he really didn't want to do this movie. I think he did it for the money or for some other reasons, but really he did not give a shit. And if you've got actors in movies that don't give a shit about their roles, how the fuck can you give a shit about what's going on anyway? Gore-wise, I suppose there was some gore there. It wasn't as gory as the first movie, but you do have your moments where you do see gore, but just seeing gore does not make a good horror movie. You've got to have the story, you've got to have everything. And this did not have it. It was a lame story. Candyman 3 Day of the Dead was a lame story. I used to want to love it more when I was younger. I defended the movie in one of my first reviews, but after just watching this movie again moments ago, I can't understand why I defended this movie so much. I think it was because I wanted to be such a big fan of the Candyman that I was willing to like anything that he was in, even if he appeared for 10 seconds doing ABCs, because I love Candyman that fucking much. So, but I'm not going to lie to myself and lie to all my fans out there watching this movie. I did not really like this movie. Didn't despise or hate it or detest it. I just dislike this movie. Other people do, and I can understand their reasons why. So that's all I've got to say about this movie. I mean, it does have special features, this DVD, including the trailer, scene index, cast notes, production notes, and a lame photo gallery. So there's nothing to say about the special features in this movie. It's on for 90 minutes. Yeah, so an hour and a half, your average size of a normal horror movie. Again, there's not much to say about the cover itself. I mean, like I say, you got the cover, you got the DVD disc inside there, and you got this this little booklet. Yeah, it's not released on Blu-ray yet, and I don't think they ever will. It's a lame movie, but mind you, if they want to release Jaws 4: The Revenge on Blu-ray, then I think they can release a movie like this on Blu-ray. Why the fuck not? And it would surprise me if this comes out in like a trilogy Blu-ray set one day. There is talks about Tony Todd re-inspired his role as Candyman in the remake. That's another movie. That's another movie review for another day. I've got mixed emotions about that. So we'll just have to see where we go from here. But I've reviewed all the Candyman movies now in the right order. The first movie, then the second one, then this movie. So it seems like they went lame as they went along, and that's really a downer because we've got loads of Friday the 13th movies. We've got a fair lot of Halloween movies. Imagine if I made lots of movies of this franchise. You know, how could it have turned out? Candyman could be a massive success right now. Who knows? But anyway, that's my movie review, everybody. Please like, rate, and comment this. Email if you've got any questions. Candyman 3: Day of the Dead. Peace out.